For single-parent travelers, probably the safety of our kids is more important than anything else. That's why today we're going to talk about 4 countries that I think are totally safe for single-parent travel. Hey, I'm Nicholas Dembski, the single dad Nomad, helping you make money while traveling the world on a budget. Today's video, we're going to talk about 4 countries where I think single parents can travel freely and safely. I've done it myself, so let's dive in real quick. The first one is going to be one that I doubt anyone has any qualms with. That's Spain. Now, my daughter and I lived in Barcelona, Spain for about 3 months. She went to school there, and we really enjoyed our time because despite some of, the past history that Barcelona has experienced, some of the civil unrest, some terrorist attacks and things like that, that were lingering in the back of my mind while I was there, I never found anything unsafe there. If I had to say that I saw one thing unsafe, I thought I saw one girl maybe get her skateboard stolen by someone trying to run off from it, but she ran him down and tackled him and took it back, I guess. I don't know, it was around a corner, so she came back around the corner with her skateboard. That was the one time I saw anything that was a little bit questionable in the entire city of Barcelona. Outside of that, I'd taken my daughter all over town, just walking around, me and her, using public transportation as well, everything from buses to trains. I also felt like I was perfectly safe just walking around at night as well. There was never any place in Barcelona where I didn't feel safe with my daughter. I felt comfortable dropping her off at school. I felt comfortable letting her play in the parks and get to know the other kids and things like that. It was a really safe place to live. I never felt like anyone was eyeing my daughter or anything like that. It just felt like a really safe, comfortable city to live in. Now, on the other hand, I did find that Barcelona lacked a lot of the playgrounds that other big cities have. They do have some playgrounds, of course, but they're not as many, they're not as dense, and they're just not as nice as a lot of the other places that I've visited in the world. But of course, in terms of safety, I find Barcelona and Spain in particular to be perfectly safe for single-parent travel. The second place that I would say is really safe for single-parent travel is Thailand. Now, I talk a lot about Thailand because I love it there so much. I've been to Thailand more than I've been to any other country. I've been to Thailand 4 times, and every single time my daughter's come with me. I've sent her to an international school there, 2 of them actually, and she enjoyed both of them very much. She's done gymnastics classes there, dancing classes there. It's where we went snorkeling for the first time out in the ocean together. It's just a really nice place to have kids because people there also just really like kids. So the people that we would always get our food from, for example, they always wanted to talk to her or give her little snacks or something like that. And it was just a really welcoming place, really warm, always felt super safe and super comfortable no matter where I was in Thailand. There was even one time where we had to get on a bus at 5 in the morning, so we had to start traveling at 3 or 4 to even get to the bus. And so we were going through Bangkok with our bags at that time in the morning, totally pitch black basically, and never really felt uncomfortable. Everyone was very polite and sweet or just left us alone. It was no problems at all. Really nice place to be. We also did the overnight bus there, the overnight train from Bangkok down south so we could head to the islands. Again, no problems at all in all my travels. As a single parent, it's probably one of my favorite places to be, actually. I would say the one thing that I didn't feel safe with in Thailand was the food. Sometimes ordering food off the street, like pork off a grill, for example, there's some dangers there, and I definitely interacted with some of them. I caught food poisoning when I was in Thailand. It was the worst I'd ever caught it. This has been 3 or 4 times now I've caught it in different countries. And it was really, really bad when I got it there. I thought I was going to die. So I would just say be careful about what you eat in Thailand. That might be the one thing that you want to be careful with when you're thinking about the safety of your family. The third place that I felt really comfortable with my daughter, and this might surprise a lot of Americans, is Colombia in South America. Now, I've actually lived out in Colombia a couple of times. The first time in 2015, I had a teaching job in a town called Valledupar, and I taught kindergartners and first graders there. My daughter went to school there. It was more of a small town feel, kind of out in the desert, so it was a bit hotter than some other places in Colombia. But always felt safe there, even though it was a little bit more dilapidated than somewhere like Bogota or Medellin. Speaking of, I did also live in Medellin for quite a while with my daughter, about 5 months right before the quarantines and everything broke out in early 2020. And Medellin, I felt absolutely safe in all the time. It was really easy to get around. They have plenty of trains and things like that, but Uber and things like that are really inexpensive there and easy to use. We also never felt uncomfortable walking around. People were always really sweet to us and wanted to talk to us, wanted to figure out what we were even doing in Medellin. We weren't exactly staying in the touristic zones, so where we would stay, people were really interested to even just speak with us, for example. But it always felt really safe there. No one ever intimidated me. I never felt like anyone was ever following us or anything like that, you know. Never felt in danger of kidnappings or crime or anything like that. Never saw a gun or heard one or anything like that. Colombia is actually really, really safe, really, really pleasant. I think just as an American, we get, you know, the idea of the Pablo Escobar kind of lifestyle going on down there, but that's well in the past. Perhaps in this moment right now, there are reports of some civil unrest going on in some of the major cities, but I'd still say it's a pretty safe place to go. Even if there is the civil unrest saying happening in Bogota or Medellin, it's generally pretty easy to avoid the places where the unrest is happening and just kind of stick to the places that are a little bit more safe, a lot more quiet. And you could literally just be a few blocks away from where the unrest is happening, and it'd be a totally different environment, completely safe, walking around with your kids, no problem at all. So the last place that I want to mention as one of my favorite places to live in terms of safety and living with kids as a single parent traveler is Hong Kong. Now, just as a disclaimer, I'm going to be heavily biased in this regard because my daughter is half Chinese. She was born in Hong Kong. I've lived in Hong Kong for a long time, several years in fact, had teaching jobs there. Lived in several different parts of Hong Kong, out on the islands, right in the middle of the city. And so I have quite a range of experiences there, and I'm definitely biased towards the town itself. But there's also a few good reasons for that. Number one is that they have some of the best playgrounds and parks that I've seen across the world. I mean, they're just gigantic. I swear you could lose your kids in here, actually. That might be one of the dangers of them. But they're just so much fun for the kids. There's always a ton of kids there playing at them. And that's because the parks themselves are just gigantic. They're the size of, I don't know, 5 parks that I've seen here in the United States, 5, 6, 10 parks, who knows? You know, they're huge and they are just awesome. They often go up multiple levels, things like that, or just spread out over like a hectare. So it's really cool, some of the parks there, your kids will love it. But there's also islands to go visit all the beaches, there's plenty of hikes out in the mountains, you could hike up to Monkey Mountain, and you know, one of the dangers there might be getting attacked by those monkeys if you're carrying around a bag of plastic oranges. Did happen to me. But in terms of safety, that's not too much to worry about. Public transportation is really easy to use in Hong Kong. The police there are generally quite easy to deal with. And one thing that I noted when I was working there back in 2013 was that there's actually a lot of local parents who let their young kids walk around on their own. Now, I don't know the specific ages of some of the kids, but I remember seeing kids that I thought were quite young, just seemed like they were walking to school by themselves or walking to their next class by themselves. So if the locals feel that comfortable letting their kids walk around in a city that big, then I don't think tourists have much to worry about either. That being said, do not do that. They are locals. That's their thing. Don't let your kids walk around in a town like Hong Kong by themselves. But on the other hand, I never felt unsafe with my daughter being out of my view, say in one of those really big parks where she kind of would disappear for 5-10 minutes at a time. And that's because Hong Kong just has a really low crime rate. Things just don't really happen there. The worst that you're probably going to see is some of the civil unrest going on between, you know, pro-democracy supporters and the police and country itself. But again, that's something that's going to be really easy to avoid if you don't place yourselves intentionally in that situation, joining the protests. It's really simple to just move away from it, move 5 blocks down, and stay away from anything like that that might be happening. Hey, if you want to learn more about those countries that we just talked about, I got some videos right here, but please like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, I want to give you some free money. Click the link down in the description box to get the Acorns investing app. It's going to give you $5 for free just to get started. Use my link and make money like me.